Ronnie Bush.
Here.
Rebecca Quiggle.
Here.
Charles Hilton.
Here.
Casey Anthony.
Present.
Dale Diddens.
Aye. Or here.
Kurt Copeland.
Here.
Kevin Tombson.
Here.
Erica Monroe.
Here.
Ron Flegel.
Here.
Elvin Wire.
Yes.
Larry Jokers.
Here.
Nicole Baker.
Here.
Scott Helms.
Present.
Sally Brashaw.
Present.
Brian Brandt.
Here.
Daniel Rohr.
Present.
Mark Diddens. Garrett Miller.
Here.
Jerry Clay.
One absent at this time. Mr. Hill will lead us in prayer, and then the pledge of allegiance by Mr. Lamb.
Let us pray. This evening, our Heavenly Father, we have gathered here once again to be the leaders of the community. Heavenly Father, we're asking that you send your Spirit down upon us, that you just lead us and guide us. And then, Heavenly Father, we want you to bless this town. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
By Mr. Second by Mr. Tombson. Any discussion on the agenda? Mr. Clay, go ahead.
We have an executive session tonight.
Yes, we are.
Do we win it at the beginning of the meeting or at the
Yes, because there's an attorney involved.
Okay.
You'll be on the clock.
Okay.
Yeah. See no other discussion. Madam Clerk, call roll, please.
Scott Helms.
Aye.
Sally Brashaw.
Aye.
Brian Brandt.
Aye.
Daniel Rohr.
Aye.
Mark Diddens.
Aye.
Garrett Miller.
Aye.
Jerry Clay.
Aye.
Samuel Newton. Samuel Newton.
Aye.
Ronnie Bush.
Aye.
Rebecca Quiggle. Charles Hilton.
Aye.
Casey Anthony.
Aye.
Dale Diddens.
Aye.
Kurt Copeland.
Aye.
Kevin Tombson.
Aye.
Erica Monroe.
Aye.
Ron Flegel.
Aye.
Elvin Wire.
Yes.
Larry Jokers.
Aye.
Nicole Baker.
Aye.
William Hadley.
Yes. It passes. At this time, we have the, Madam Clerk, would you read the consent agenda?
We have the approval of the June 16th, 2022 minutes, referring all claims on the clerk's desk to the proper committees without reading. Claims total $2,087,566.46. Approval of HD 2213, Willett Hoffman Engineering Extension. Approval intergovernmental agreement with Winnebago County.
Agenda, Mr. Clay. B. Okay, we got B removed. Mr. Flegel, did you hit nothing? Okay. So can I have a motion for A, C, and D?
So moved.
Okay, by Mr. Dale Diddens and second by Mr. Ron Flegel. Madam Clerk, call roll.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, go ahead.
on letter C, this is an existing agreement, I believe, but has the state's attorney reviewed this intergovernmental agreement? Or I'm sorry, on D, I'm sorry, not C. The intergovernmental agreement with Winnebago County.
I have not.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
It passed out of my committee with the understanding that it would be approved or gone over by Mr. Larson before it was brought before the board. So that's how it passed out of committee, pending Mr. Larson's approval.
Okay, so do we want to remove this? discussion?
There's issues on payment, not issues, but there's language that pertains to payment as well as certificate of liability insurance, which typically when we have those, we have our liability insurance carrier review those as well. We've done that with the nursing home, so I think it's probably prudent we do the same on this.
So you want it removed for the time being for discussion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to remove letter D.
Okay, so letter D is also, so it'll just be letter A and letter C, and you're all right with, pardon me? No, you don't need no second, it's just, you're all right with that, your original motion?
Yes.
And Mr. Flegel was the original second, you're all right with that?
Yeah.
Okay, then. Madam Clerk, you can call roll on the consent agenda.
Dale Diddens.
Aye.
Kurt Copeland.
Aye.
Kevin Toomson.
Aye.
Erica Monroe.
Aye.
Ron Flegel.
Aye.
Elvin Wire.
Yes.
Larry Jokers.
Aye.
Nicole Baker.
Aye.
Scott Helms.
Aye.
Sally Brashaw.
Aye.
Brian Brandt.
Aye.
Daniel Rohr.
Aye.
Mark Diddens.
Oh.
Garrett Miller.
Aye.
Jerry Clay.
Aye.
Samuel Newton.
Aye.
Ronnie Bush.
Aye.
Rebecca Quiggle.
Aye.
Charles Hilton.
Aye.
Casey Anthony.
Aye.
William Hadley.
Yes.
21 unanimous.
21 unanimous. What's your pleasure on B and D? You want to separate those?
I move that we lay D over until the state's attorney has looked it over and the insurance company has.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, second by Mr. Miller. This is the layover D till the state's attorney and our insurance company looks at it. This will come on them. Okay, Madam Clerk, you can call roll on that, please.
Jerry Clay.
Aye.
Samuel Newton.
Aye.
Ronnie Bush.
Aye.
Rebecca Quiggle.
Aye.
Charles Hilton.
Aye.
Casey Anthony.
Aye.
Dale Diddens.
Aye.
Kurt Copeland.
Aye.
Kevin Toomson.
Aye.
Erica Monroe.
Aye.
Ron Flegel.
Aye.
Elvin Wire.
Yes.
Larry Jokers.
Aye.
Nicole Baker.
Aye.
Scott Helms.
Aye.
Sally Brashaw.
Aye.
Brian Brandt.
Aye.
Daniel Rohr.
Aye.
Mark Diddens.
Aye.
Garrett Miller.
Aye.
William Hadley.
Yes.
21 unanimous.
Okay, motion to approve B.
So moved.
Okay, by Mr. Dale Diddens, second by Ms. Bradshaw. Madam Clerk?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, go ahead.
Give me 2 seconds here. I want everyone to be aware, and I'm sure if they've seen the agenda that they are, but the nursing home claims for the month of July were actually $275,315. However, in the nursing home committee, we approved paying $117,000 of the claims. And if you look further down on the agenda under nursing, there's an additional approval of claims in the amount of $158,309.38 pending available funding to the nursing home. For obvious reasons, we couldn't pay all the bills in July, all the claims, I should say. So the treasurer and I believe the finance director and the administrator came up with some ideas on to defer, I believe, IMRF liability, to put that off until August. So just so everyone's understanding, the actual claim amount for nursing for July was not $117,000.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Helms. Any other discussion? I see none. Madam Clerk, call roll, please.
Dale Diddens.
Aye.
Kurt Copeland.
Aye.
Kevin Toomson.
Aye.
Erica Monroe.
Aye.
Ron Flegel.
Aye.
Elvin Wire.
Yes.
Larry Jokers.
No.
Nicole Baker.
Aye.
Scott Helms.
No.
Sally Brashaw.
Aye.
Brian Brandt.
Aye.
Daniel Rohr.
Aye.
Mark Diddens.
Aye.
Garrett Miller.
Aye.
Jerry Clay.
No.
Samuel Newton.
Aye.
Ronnie Bush,
Aye.
Rebecca Quiggle,
Aye.
Charles Hilton,
Aye.
Casey Anthony,
Aye.
William Hadley.
Yes.
18-3.
18-3 passes. At this time, we'll move on to public comment, but we'll do Zoom first. Is there anybody on Zoom that wants to do public comment for 3 minutes? Raise your hand, please. Do you see anybody? Anybody on Zoom, public comment, 3 minutes? Okay, then, public comment, 3 minutes. Anybody in the audience? Come on up, please. Could somebody turn that mic down again? Would you state your name for the record, please?
My name is Gary Quinn.
Go ahead.
I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you. At the top of our house, the president or the vice president can seem to construct or speak a simple sentence. During peak COVID, our governor, while imposing strict controls on our state, found that he and his family could enjoy their various properties in other states with far fewer restrictions. From 15 days to flatten the curve, we moved to draconian lockdowns and continued egregious trampling of our God-given rights. In short order, our rights to assemble and worship, or even say words like ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine, were forbidden. I certainly understand why some of this board are frustrated and have genuine righteous anger. Last month, some of you folks voted to oppose the appointment of 3 volunteers to the Stephenson County Board of Health. While I truly get the anger, I would respectfully suggest that the anger is misdirected. Let me explain. I have personally known Dr. Clarence Parks since he has an off-the-charts intellect. He has impeccable personal character. He personally supervised the construction of a second ICU unit during peak COVID. At that time, the hospital was 2% staffing, but yet had 110% of their approved patient capacity. Parks made all that happen. Lynn Miller is an RN. She works as a case manager for the VA. She is caring for our veterans after they are discharged. In her mind, the veterans are never discharged from her care. Sivan Svila is an unsung hero of social work. Mental illness, child abuse, and child neglect are rampant in Stephenson County. I would only ask that you go through your own health department assessment of community needs. This lady wakes up every day and then drops her plow in some hard ground. I would respectfully request that you make a new consideration and approve these 3 folks, because they are valuable public servants. I've reached the point in my life where I have 0 confidence in my federal government. I realize that my state government is controlled by Chicago dollars. The only place I have any confidence in my government is right here in this room. Why? Because I have the opportunity to speak with you.
Thank you, Mr. Quinn. Anybody else for public comment? Okay, I see. This time, we're gonna go into executive session for, 5 ILCS 120/2C11 litigation when an action against an affecting or on behalf of a public body has been filed and is pending before a court or an administration tribunal. Motion to go into executive session.
So moved.
By Ms. Anthony, second by Mr. Thompson. Madam Clerk, call roll, please.
Casey Anthony,
Aye.
Dale Diddens,
Aye.
Kurt Coplain,
Aye.
Kevin Tombson,
Aye.
Erica Monroe,
Aye.
Ron Flegel,
Aye.
Elvin Wire,
Yeah.
Larry Jokers,
Aye.
Nicole Baker,
Aye.
Scott Helms,
Aye.
Sally Brandt,
Bradshaw.
Bradshaw, Brian Brandt, Daniel Rohr,
Aye.
Mark Diddens,
Aye.
Garrett Miller, Jerry Clay. I said that right, didn't I? Samuel Newton,
Aye.
Ronnie Bush,
Aye.
Rebecca Quiggle,
Aye.
Charles Hilton, William Hadley.
Yes. So the people on Zoom will be putting you in the waiting room. Okay, call back to order here. We just came out of executive session of 5 ILCS 120/2 C11 litigation when an action against an affecting or on behalf of a public body has been filed and is pending before a court or an administration tribunal. No action was taken in executive session. Mr. Copeland, go ahead.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to approve claim number 180411W023 and the amount we discussed in executive session.
Do I have a second? Second by Mr. Dale Diddens. Madam Clerk, call roll, please.
Kurt Copeland.
Aye.
Kevin Toonson.
Nay.
Erica Monroe.
Aye.
Ron Flegel.
Aye.
Elvin Wire.
No.
Larry Jokers.
Aye.
Nicole Baker.
Aye.
Scott Helms.
Aye.
Sally Brashaw.
Aye.
Brian Brandt.
Aye.
Daniel Rohr.
No.
Mark Diddens.
Aye.
Garrett Miller.
Aye.
Jerry Clay.
No.
Samuel Newton.
Aye.
Ronnie Bush.
Aye.
Rebecca Quiggle.
Aye.
Charles Hilton.
Aye.
Casey Anthony.
Aye.
Dale Diddens.
Aye.
William Hadley.
Yes.
17-4.
17-4 passes. At this time, we're gonna move to the auditor's report. And then we'll, do a motion after the auditor's report. So, sir, could you come up here, please, to this? Would you like us to hold questions, or as you're going through, can we stop you, or?
Certainly free to stop as we go through.
Okay, I'll watch the board here, and if somebody gets their light, we'll get the
Thank you, Mr.
question.
Chair. Good evening, members of the county board. On behalf of SICKIsh, I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to present the results of our audit of the county as of and for your fiscal year ended December 31st, 2021. Have before you, I believe, 3 reports. I'll be starting with the annual financial reports. We'll start on page 1 of that document. Page 1 will be printed on SICKIsh letterhead titled the Independent Auditor's Report. Within the Independent Auditor's Report, you may have noticed that the form of the report did change this year. From a substance standpoint, not significant changes in terms of the substance of that report. However, the opinion section is now listed as the first component of the Independent Auditor's Report. Pleased to present that we've issued a clean, unmodified opinion on the county's financial statements as of and for your fiscal year ended December 31st, 2021. That clean, unmodified opinion means, in our opinion as auditors, the financial statements are fairly presented in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles and free of material misstatements. Just want to commend the county for receipt of the unmodified opinion. That's certainly what we want to be discussing and disclosing to you as part of the results of our audit. From there, if you'll turn with me to page 5. Page 5 is titled the Statement of Net Position. On the Statement of Net Position, you'll see 3 columns. First column, your governmental activities column. This presents your general fund, all of your other non-nursing center funds that are presented as part of that. The second column is your business type activities. This does include the nursing center in this column. And then your total column on the far right there. On that statement, looking towards the bottom, the second line from the bottom presents your unrestricted net position. As of December 31st, 2021, you presented unrestricted net position for your governmental activities of $1,933,067. Nursing center and the business type activities had unrestricted net position of approximately $228,540. I'll cover the results and the operating results in more detail here as we go through. On the following pages 6 and 7, you'll find the statement of activities. Statement of activities presents your long-term income statement. So this is all of your capital asset activity as well as your long-term debt activity that are included on these financial statements here. Same column presentation here. So looking on page 7, the third line from the bottom, you'll see the change in net position. For your governmental activities, your change in net position was just under $4.7 million for fiscal year 21. Business type activities, nursing center had a decrease in net position, just under 1.6 million. So overall, the county as a whole increased just over 3.1 million. Again, I'll get more into the details of what drove those specific change in net position numbers in just a few moments. If you turn with me to the following page, the balance sheet for governmental funds, page 8. You see 6 total columns presented here. Major funds presented as required by the calculations include your general fund, the American Rescue Plan Act or ARPA fund, the Health Department, Illinois Municipal Retirement Fund or IMRF, your non-major governmental funds in the 5th column, and then finally the total governmental funds in the far right column. Focusing on the general fund, your unassigned fund balance on the 3rd line from the bottom, unassigned fund balance as of December 31st, 2021 was $6.374 million. That's a healthy reserve in your general fund there, approximately 64% of your fiscal year 21 expenditures there. As a reminder, that reserve is really one of the things that as you wait on tax dollars to start coming in through the property tax cycle there, you do have a reserve. So as of December 31st, 21, there's a little bit of a larger number from a reserve standpoint there, but it's necessary from an operating standpoint due to the timing of those property tax receipts. Second column there, you'll see the dollars that you currently had, or as of December 31st, that you had for the American Rescue Plan Act and the funding there, just under $4.3 million as of December 31st, 2021. As those dollars had not yet been spent as of December 31st, you had about, the majority of those amounts were reported as unearned revenue as of December 31st, 2021. So it's just a very small component of your fund balance. This is the statement of revenues, expenditures, and changes of fund balance for your governmental funds. Overall, your governmental funds in fiscal year 21 increased just over $4 million, driven primarily by the operations of your general fund. Your general fund increased a little over $1 million. That was driven by 2 major factors. Revenues came in just slightly above budget, about $230,000 above budget for your general fund. On your expenditures, you did come in under budget there. Approximately $770,000, I believe, is the figure for that, getting you to the $1 million increase in your net change in fund balance there. Also had increases in your non-major governmental funds, primarily driven by your motor fuel tax and your township motor fuel tax funds there. Again, the timing related to those particular funds is what drives that. So as dollars come in, those will be spent down as you have future projects that come through that are flowed through the motor fuel tax and the township motor fuel tax.
Question.
Yes, sir.
Why is township funds in
Oh.
this when we don't deal with them?
So in terms of the reporting, in terms of how those are flowing through, that information is presented. If we look at the correct page here. So those township motor fuel taxes, those taxes do flow through. Essentially, it's a flow-through transaction and required to be reported in that manner based on how the taxes flow through.
Okay, but so the 4 million increase at the end of the year, that's not township funds, or it is.
It is not. It is the portion that comes in that's going to be spent on those township projects for that, but those separate amounts that are not included in that total. That is correct. I can get you more specifics in terms of the breakdown. In terms of
no, I just want to understand that this 4 million has nothing to do with township.
the 4 million total increase.
Yes.
Correct. Those are your dollars. The county.
Our dollars.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir. From there, if you'll turn with me to page 13, the statement of revenues, expenses, and changes in that position. You'll see 2 columns presented here. I'm going to focus on the nursing center fund, your internal service fund. Your internal service funds are used when these are funds that are essentially charging services internally for that, primarily related to health insurance there. So nothing too focus on in that column, looking at the nursing center fund and the operations in the nursing center fund. Starting in the middle of the page for fiscal year 2021, this operating loss for the nursing home or nursing center fund in 2021 was about $1.25 million. Immediately below that, you'll see your non-operating revenues there. So you have your property taxes, investment income, grants, and miscellaneous. Grants this year to just under $117,000. So your total non-operating revenues were at $600,000, of which $500,000 and change, or a little bit, right around $500,000 were non-grant, non-operating revenues there. You then have transfers out. Transfers out are the other costs that are paid by other funds, and nursing home reimburses those funds as part of that process there. So your change in net position for the year for the nursing center fund was just under $1.6 million, a decrease in your net position. This does continue what we've seen from a trend standpoint in the nursing center of drawdowns on your net position there. 2020 is a bit of an outlier for that. If you look at the change in net position line exclusively there, you did have a slight increase last year. However, you do need to take into account that you had $2 million of grants that flowed through last year. So it does kind of muddy the waters a little bit in terms of the picture there. If you look at the last several years there, looking at that operating income as well as those transfers out, essentially you do have a structural imbalance in terms of the dollars coming in versus the expenses going out there. As you look at how to fund the nursing center going forward, how those operations there, certainly a lot of things for the board to discuss as part of that process there.
Statement. I want to thank the auditors for putting in real estate taxes that go to the nursing home in the loss column at the nursing home. That's, to me, this is the proper way to do accounting so that you really know what's happened at the end of the year. So appreciate that.
Yes, sir. If there's no other questions on the information on the statements here, I will just have you turn back to page 54 and 55. I always like to highlight for you in terms of the pension funding, the status of the pension funds that the county participates in. So on pages 54 and 55 presents the information for the Municipal Retirement Fund or the IMRF regular plan here. Information is presented 1 year in arrears. This is based on the availability of information from IMRF for that there. So the 2020 column on the right is the most recent information we had available as the report was being prepared. Very strong position with IMRF in the regular plan. You actually reported a net pension asset of $6.25 million, and you were about 111% funded as of December 31st, 2020 at IMRF. Your 2021 results will likely show a continued increase in that based on 2021's market performance for IMRF for that there. Obviously, we all are well in tune to what the economy has done so far in 2022. It just may be a few years before you see that correction reflected in the financial statements there, but just something to be mindful of as you look at that schedule. Following two pages, pages 56 and 57, present similar information for the Sheriff's Law Enforcement personnel for the SLEP plan. As of December 31st, 2020, you had a net pension liability, the smallest number that you had in that column there in that row, of $460,937, and just under 99% funded. So both pension funds, IMRF and the Sheriff's Law Enforcement Personnel Plan Fund, strongly funded as of December 31st, 2020. Again, you're likely to see that continue through December 31st, 2021. What that does, what that means for you in terms of obviously looking at a funded status for a defined benefit pension plan, it does help keep your operating costs down in terms of that, in terms of the contributions, required contributions related to those plans.
Question.
Yes, sir.
Why isn't 2021 on here?
So 2021 information from IMRF, the availability of that information. So there are several components that are required for us to include that in the report. So while they issued the information in April in terms of how your funded status is, and that can be provided to the board there, we have to wait on IMRF's annual audit to be done to include that information in the report.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir. From there, I'd like to have you open the single audit report, or the other two reports on the single audit report. If you would turn with me to page 9 of that document. This is titled the Schedule of Findings and Question Costs. As a reminder, the single audit report is required as a county expense greater than $750,000. So this is titled Single Audit Report. Page 9 of that report. So as a county expense greater than $750,000 of federal funds throughout the course of the year. I don't know that everybody has this particular, okay.
Which one's that?
This is the single audit report.
Georgia,
You didn't get me one either.
I did not receive.
but we only received so many of them.
Sure. I can provide highlighted information for you on this report if there's additional questions.
I was gonna say.
No, but we mailed, what happened is on the packet, they only gave us like 9 of these, and it went all to the finance committee, and, Georgia, you emailed them all out, so you should have them on your email.
I emailed them in the board packet too.
And it was in the board packet too, but,
I can just highlight some information for you on this. It's summary level information here, but as a result of the single audit and the federal expenditure component of the audit here, for fiscal year 21, the county expended just over $3 million in federal expenditures. We tested what are called major programs, 2 major programs this year for you, the epidemiology and laboratory capacity for infectious diseases, or the ELC program, as well as the COVID-19 provider relief fund. The testing of those 2 programs accounted for approximately just under 1.5 million of testing of major programs within that. The testing requirement for the county is 40%. That gave us about 48.5% coverage there. So in terms of our testing from a major program standpoint, there were no financial statement findings that we noted during the course of that. We have issued 2 opinions related to the single audit report, both were unmodified. In terms of recommendations as part of the process there, we did have 3 issues that carried forward from the prior year in terms of that, or I'd say 2 that carried forward from the prior year, related to the audit adjustments as well as the reporting of the county's capital assets. 1 new comment this year just related to the management and oversight of receivables as it relates to the nursing center. Related to the material audit adjustments there, I can report to the board that the same number of adjustments was posted in fiscal year 21 as was posted in fiscal year 20. However, that's, I would say take that with a positive spin on it there, because you have gone through and done a major implementation of the new accounting system there, which required a lot of effort from staff on that there. I do think going forward, the majority of those issues based on our conversation, those entries should be greatly reduced as part of that going forward. That's our expectation in terms of conversation with staff on that. From a capital asset standpoint there, just in terms of the long-term record keeping as it related to capital assets, the last several years, last year and this year, when we've been involved working with the county there, the information that's been made available to us there is more of an issue related to the prior year information, and then as mentioned, just the ongoing analysis necessary for the nursing home, nursing center receivables as part of that, ensuring that those are being tracked and updated as necessary for that. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions. Do you just want to express our gratitude to the county for responsiveness throughout the process there, and happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
I do have a question on, this is always a pet peeve of mine since we have a lot of new board members. Go back to the annual finance report, page 74 and page 75. Underneath nursing center, on page 74, are these all the three different funds, the POP fund, the commissary fund, and then there's another fund that I can't think of the name of?
Correct. So these are considered to be the custodial funds there. So the fund, the resident accounts that are maintained as part of that. That's correct, sir.
And so they're at the end of the year, it looks like they got net of, they still have 5,551 in there, right?
That was the increase, they had about 8,851 in terms.
Left, okay.
Correct.
Now let's go over to the page 75 to the prisoner account fund. This has always interested me. Is this part of the commissary fund and his other funds that he has? He has quite a few different funds. Is this all rolled up into one fund?
So the jail pop account is separately listed there in the column to the right, so that these are all the funds that are essentially rolled into that for the inflows and outflows related to those in the from the prisoner accounts.
So I see that they took in about 1.1 million, but they spent 1.1 million?
Correct, all flowed through that custodial fund, and in that sense, the county serves as a custodian for those dollars, and therefore there is nothing held by the county at year end related to those.
Okay, did you get to see the breakdown of how they spent that money, or you don't get to see that paperwork?
We do receive that and look at that as part of our process there and test based on our materiality levels. So we do.
But you were able to get a hold of it and see it from what every item that was spent, like if they bought a vehicle out of there, or they.
We would, correct, we would have been able to see that. I don't recall the specific expenses that we looked at as part of that, but yes, we do have access to that information as part of our testing.
And then any county board member should have access to that too, correct? Since you have access to it?
I will defer to those in charge of those decisions on that, in terms of that from a legal standpoint as to how those are structured under statutes for that.
Okay, I know there's some statutes that cover them, but it kind of would help the board know sometimes how some of this money is spent and how, if there's vehicles being bought or, what's being bought, But I just wanted the new board members to be aware of what these mean back here, because I always like to look at this page once this report comes out. But thank you for answering those questions. Any more questions for the audit report? And what'll happen tonight is we'll receive it and lay it over, and then we'll approve it. So if you do have any questions during that 30 days while it's laid over, please address them to our county administrator, and then she'll get it sent out to our auditors and get an answer, because I know it's a lot to digest here tonight. So, Ms. Anthony, go ahead.
I just have a comment to explain, because I asked a question in the finance meeting. I know that we're still collecting for the nursing center. We're still collecting funds from 2021. And so far, the information that TCM has at this moment is what they're working on collecting, not knowing they're going to get it all, but what they're working on collecting from 2021 is $942,246.91. So I did ask from an auditing perspective, how that would look when 2021 dollars come into 2022. And it was explained that it would go into 2022 amount, but that we could separate it so you could see 2021 and then 2022 separately, so we get a better picture of what 2022 looks like. I did confirm with TCM that they would be able to kind of separate that incoming revenue so that the auditors would be able to do that.
Any other questions? I see none. Thank you very much, then.
Thank you.
Okay, at this time, can I get a motion to receive and lay over the...
So moved.
Okay, by Mr. Helms, second by Mr. Coops. And any discussion? I see none. Madam Clerk, call roll, please.
Scott Helms.
Aye.
Sally Brashaw.
Aye.
Brian Brandt.
Aye.
Daniel Rohr.
Aye.
Mark Diddens.
Aye.
Garrett Miller.
Aye.
Jerry Clay.
Aye.
Samuel Newton.
Aye.
Ronnie Bush.
Aye.
Rebecca Quiggle.
Aye.
Charles Hilton.
Aye.
Casey Anthony.
Aye.
Dale Diddens.
Aye.
Kurt Copeland.
Aye.
Kevin Tombson.
Aye.
Erica Monroe.
Aye.
Ron Flegel.
Aye.
Elvin Wire.
Yes.
Larry Jokers.
Aye.
Nicole Baker.
Aye.
William Hadley.
Yes,
Unanimous.
it's unanimous. At this time, we'll move to zoning report. Ms. Henning, would you please come up?
ZBA was held Thursday, July 14th, and a full quorum was present. There was one hearing for the evening, and that was a recreational camp located at 4414 North Power Road. And testimony was given with a voice vote of 4-0, the ZBA recommends approval by this board with the following conditions. Must have a coded entry gate, no firearms discharged on the property, maximum of 4 structures that must be approved by the zoning department. A new special use must be obtained before any other structures are constructed above the original 4. No campers, RVs, or tents. No ATV, UTV used by the tenants.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, go ahead, Mr. Helms.
make a motion to approve.
Do I have a second? Second by Mr. Bush. Discussion on this. Mr. Fleegle, did you have?
No.
Oh, okay. Any discussion? Mr. Dale Gibbons, go ahead.
I just have one comment. That's too bad you won't drive an ATV or UTV around on that property.
It was agreed upon by the owner of the land. He wants it more of a quiet, romantic get together. So it was one of his, he actually asked for that to be into the resolution.
Okay, I see none other. Madam Clerk, call roll, please.
Scott Helms.
Aye.
Sally Brashaw. Brian Brandt.
Aye.
Daniel Rohr.
Aye.
Mark Diddens.
Aye.
Garrett Miller.
Aye.
Jerry Clay.
Aye.
Samuel Newton.
Aye.
Ronnie Bush.
Aye.
Rebecca Quiggle.
Aye.
Charles Hilton.
Aye.
Casey Anthony.
Aye.
Dale Diddens.
Aye.
Kurt Copeland.
Aye.
Kevin Toomson.
Aye.
Erica Monroe.
Aye.
Ron Fleegle.
Aye.
Elvin Wire.
Yes.
Larry Jokers.
Aye.
Nicole Baker.
Aye.
William Hadley.
Yes.
21 unanimous.
Okay, 21, and thank you. Anything else, Ms. Henning?
That's it.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, at this time, we'll move on. No unfinished business to the chairman's report. The UCCI annual conference is coming up. The folks that are going at your desk, I put where all the activities are going to be and what's going to be discussed. One thing I want to remind our county administrator will take the county credit card up there and check everybody in. Don't use your credit card because there is a $125 refund that comes back to the county on each room. So make sure when you check out that you have that certificate to give to checkout so we get the $125 reimbursement on the credit card. Any questions before you go up there, feel free to call me or the county administrator. It should be a good time for all of you. I want to talk about appointment to the Board of Health. How we got to our decision with these 3 candidates. As you remember, a while back.
Point of order.
No,
Point of order.
I'm going to rule you out of order, Mr. Clay, because
I appeal your decision.
Okay, Madam Clerk. Do we have a second on him appealing his?
Second.
Who did a second?
It'll be Mr. Miller.
Now, I get to discuss this
Yes.
before we vote.
Yes, go ahead.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
point of order. We haven't made any motion to put any of these names on the floor. You're in the chairman's report. So while I understand Mr. Clay where he's coming from, is it appropriate to discuss it during the chairman's report?
We're not even sure what Mr. Clay's concern is at this point.
Yeah, I'm discussing how
But Mr. Clay just said, before we vote, nothing has been put on the floor. This is a chairman's report.
Yeah, his appeal's on the floor. He's appealing I ruled him out of order. And he's appealing my decision for a vote.
Okay. A vote for what?
So
there's nothing on the floor to vote about. We haven't reached that point in the
Mr. Hadley,
agenda.
can you guys use the microphones? We can't hear anything.
Yes, go ahead.
The vote is to determine whether you're overruling his objection was out of order.
Go ahead, please.
All right, so the vote, let's see, and I might not get the language exactly right, but Mr. Clay made a point of order. Chairman Hadley ruled him out of order. Mr. Clay appealed Chairman Hadley's decision that Mr. Clay was out of order. So now the vote is whether or not to uphold or, I guess, deny Chairman Hadley's decision that Mr. Clay's objection was out of order. That's what the vote is.
That the vote you're referring to?
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Now on this yes or no thing, that's the confusing part, so.
Well, I think he wanted to address it.
Yes, go ahead, Mr. Clay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, it's inappropriate for the chairman to be discussing an appointment to this Board of Health because of what's been going on. For the chairman of this board to tell this board that we didn't understand what we were talking about and to bring the same appointments back and then to sit there and talk about the decision that we're going to make today. If he wants to come down here and sit down here with us and discuss it, that's fine. But for him to sit up there in the chairman's chair, that's not appropriate. And therefore, he should be called out of order for what he's doing. I shouldn't be called out of order for keeping him in check. And so that's what this is about, is him deciding that we don't know what we're talking about. And I think the board decision from last month should have stood, but we're gonna see. But it's inappropriate for him to be sitting up there discussing in the chairman's chair as if he doesn't have to discuss with us, debate with us. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, so yes means that you agree with Mr. Clay, and no means that you agree. How's that going, Glenn?
I would say, yeah, yes means you agree with Mr. Clay and would prevent you from discussing the Board of Health further.
Yes.
No means you disagree with Mr. Clay and you can continue your chairman's report as you were going.
Okay. Okay, Madam Clerk, does everybody understand the yes and no on this?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes,
Is there a possibility to hear from the state's attorney if in fact you're not allowed to speak on this from that chair? I guess I don't know what's...
I'm telling how the process went. I'm not speaking.
Do you want me to address that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. There is generally a rule that during a debate on an issue, so if there had been a motion and there had been a second, if Mr. Hadley or any chairman would like to address that, he's supposed to step down, approach the lectern, and the vice chair is supposed to take the chairman's seat for the duration of the chairman's addressing that issue. I'm not aware that necessarily applies in the chairman's report. I think the board could probably follow its inclination. If you agree with Mr. Clay, I don't think you're going to be wrong according to Robert's Rules of Order. If you disagree with him, I don't think you'll be wrong that way either. Now, like I say, if there's been a motion in the second, it's very clear the chairman's supposed to step down and the vice chair steps up. But that's not where we are. We're in chairman's report, and to some extent, every chairman's report will have something to do with the agenda items, and whether this is so much that it's inappropriate or not, I think it's within the board's discretion.
Thank you.
Okay, Madam Clerk, call roll, please.
Jerry Clay.
Yes.
Samuel Newton.
Aye.
Ronnie Bush.
No.
Rebecca Quiggle.
No.
Charles Hilton.
No.
Casey Anthony.
No.
Dale Diddens,
No.
Kurt Copeland,
Yes.
Kevin Tombson,
Yes.
Erica Monroe,
Yes.
Ron Flegel,
No.
Elvin Wire,
No.
Larry Jokers,
Yes.
Nicole Baker,
Yes.
Scott Helms,
Yes.
Sally Brashaw,
No.
Brian Brandt,
No.
Daniel Rohr,
No.
Mark Diddens,
No.
Garrett Miller,
Yes.
William Hadley.
No.
Nine yes, 12 no.
So that means I can continue on with the chairman's report. Okay. Getting back to the chairman's report. Back in sometime, we had a group of people from the Dakota area that came and talked about the Board of Health and asked how we did appointments. And I explained to them by state statute how we do appointments. And I had promised them that I would change the criteria of how I do these appointments. So I kept my promise. I put a committee together of 3 individuals to help me with these appointments. That would be Gary Quinn. He's on the board of directors at Freeport Health Network. Myself and Scott Helms that serves on the health department board. So we did meet, as I promised the people in Dakota, to put a group together of 3, and we did meet. We did go over the applications on all 3 people. And I'll read you something out of the state statute. As county board chairman, I have to follow the state statute. I take an oath to this office. And I want to let you know that I take this oath very serious. So, it says, people to serve on the health department board, I have to at least have 2 medical doctors. And one of them is Mr. Parks, another one is, Mr. Benema, help me with, yeah, Dr. Geller. So there's the 2 medical doctors. Then I have to have a dentist. Dr. Reedy serves as a dentist. I have to have somebody from the field of mental health. We have somebody for that. And then we have to have an RN. So I'm following the state statute. And I met with the group. And unanimous out of this group, we decided that we would return these, I would bring these 3 names forward to the board to make a decision. I'm not, whatever the board wants to do on my 3 appointments is their decision. I'm just letting you know how I did the process, and I don't see what was wrong me telling you how I did the process. I think the board members should know that. I'm not debating that we should keep these 3 on or keep these 3. I just wanted to let you know, as chairman, how I do things by the state statute. And so that's how we did everything. I did call all 3 individuals up, discuss with them. I did ask all 3 to be more, looking out more at the budget and looking out more, at Mr. Benema's performance and stuff like that, not rubber stamp things. And they all agreed to that, So I was pleased with that. So as county board chairman, I always have to bring appointments to you all. So that's the reason I just wanted to explain how we went through this process. I kept my promise to the folks in Dakota that I would change the way I did this. Now on appointments, before, for a fire district, I put a committee together. So when there is controversial things going on, I am not a dictator here. I appoint the people that I believe that is good, and then it's up to the board to make the decision if they're good or not. So that's how I came to that conclusion, and that's all I wanted to tell you. Now I will move on to the appointment of District C. I've been working with the Democrat Party. Next month, I will be bringing Deborah Devine to the board. She's a past board member from 2006 to 2010. She will fill Miss Bear's position. Then I'm going to go on to, I'm still working for the second tour of the Ingrown Farms. And I'm still trying to get a date down for that, for the folks that didn't go and want to go. Just recently, Greater Freeport Partnership and myself met with some key people out at Bernard Foods. There's been some staff changes out there. They have offered the county board to tour Bernard Foods. Now, we just can't take all the board members in at one time. So I'd like to get a list. Please email me or Georgia, who would like to take a tour of Bernard Foods. And we will try to get, if it's quite a few people, we'll try to get 2 tours set up. But they want the county board to come and tour Bernard Foods, and I'm very happy because I've been always asking when we meet with them. So that's all I have in the chairman's report tonight. Any questions for me?
Mr. Chairman, there's another item on the agenda, the appointment of somebody to the zoning board. Would you like to mention that as well in the process you went through?
I got an application, reviewed it, talked to the gentleman, and I was very satisfied bringing his name forward. Okay, let's see here. We will move on to appointments. Madam Clerk, can you read appointments, please?
The appointments to the Board of Health are the reappointment of Dr. Clarence Parks, MD, the reappointment of Lynn Miller, RN, the reappointment of Siobhan Chevela. She's a FHN licensed clinical social worker.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, go ahead.
I'd like to make a motion to approve all 3 appointments to the Board of Health.
Do I have a second? Second by Mr. Dale Diddens. Discussion now. Mr. Helms, do you want any further discussion or?
No, I'll yield my time.
Okay. Mr. Flegel, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to say something here because I was one of the opponents that opposed this 30 days ago. Since at that time, I have spoke with Mr. Biema. I have also spoke with a member of the health board of a non-medical person that I have a tremendous amount of respect for. And we talked about the frustration, and he was as a board member, he was probably just as frustrated with us with the last 2 years with the health department and how things came down from the state, and they changed every day, every week, and the consistency wasn't there. I think I made my frustration very clear with Craig that and the difficulty of finding anybody else willing or qualified to serve on the Board of Health. I was at that time when I spoke to Craig, I was not aware of the state statute where you had to have certain people from certain areas, education, occupation, to serve on the county health board. So at this time, I'm gonna after I get to, I guess, air my frustration with what we've had through the health department, and not necessarily on the board, but on the operations and the statements or direction that came down from our state to our county, and trying to facilitate that, and the difficulty of not having consistency even within what I feel, even county to county. So because of all these factors, I'm going to change my vote and support these 3 people for reappointment to the county health board. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dale Diddens. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was going to say just about what Mr. Flegel said. I had a lengthy discussion with Craig Bientema about the whole situation, and after that discussion, and he clarified some of the problems that they had trying to administer the COVID restrictions. I felt much better about the situation. The whole situation was unprecedented. The whole country, or the whole world was really trying to figure out how to work with this thing, So it's a difficult situation. And our health department has a long history of good care and good service, so I too will change my no, unless somebody hears something tonight that I'm not aware of, I plan on voting, I plan on supporting these three people. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, Mr. Wire, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Would you speak closer into the mic for the folks at home?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I wish to thank Dr. Reedley for his email to the county board. Mr. Beaman's letter to Governor Pritzker is in response to COVID-19 Executive Order 87 shows that we have a lot in common. The letter to Governor Pritzker states, our mandate is coercive in that you are trying to force the vaccine onto healthcare workers and public sector teachers. The mandate has not instilled a sense of trust in our state government. The lack of planning, understanding of the pandemic and available resources does not lead one to believe much of what is being said by those who have been elected. Science has been thrown away for political divisiveness. You have put a huge burden on the healthcare and teaching institutions. Since Mr. Bean signed as a county health official and used the pronoun we, I assume the letter reflects the views of the Stephenson County Health Board. This strongly worded response to the governor's mandate that directly affects healthcare workers is much the same response as many people, including myself, have of the governor's mandate, which directly affects us. What we have is a state making unscientific, coercive mandates on the health board, which strongly opposes coercion on them, but is enforcing the government mandates on the people of Stephenson County, who also strongly oppose the coercion. If we're to be free in the future, we must work together in opposition of these mandates, instead of opposing each other. Because the state can threaten the health department if they do not follow the mandates by withdrawing funds and grants or by pulling licenses. The health department takes a great risk to oppose the state. The threats are easy to make, but they're hard to support in court. Recently, a New York judge ruled against the mandate because no positive evidence was presented for the mandate. No evidence at all was presented. So he had voted against the mandate. In Illinois, the mandate which Mr. Beaman's letter was opposing was to appear in court before the end of July this month. On July 13th, the Governor Pritzker dropped most of those mandates, less than 2 weeks before the case was to show up in court. Two questions need to be answered. Are the people in the county opposed to the mandates against them willing to defend the healthcare people if they take a stand against the state? Saying the healthcare providers, you should take the risk because we want benefits, is not going to work. Since the state will enforce their mandates all the way to the courthouse, this means establishing a mandate defense fund, ready to go to court to defend the health worker. The second question is, if they know the people will defend them, will the healthcare providers strongly oppose political mandates against themselves and take a stand against the state if political mandates affecting either the healthcare workers or the people of the Stephenson County are required in the future? If the answer to either one of these questions is no, then the county will continue with verbal and written complaints which accomplish nothing. Mr. Chairman, I move that the appointment of the health board be laid over to the August meeting and the chairman have a committee work with the health board to find a mutually acceptable procedure if political mandates do occur in the future.
Do I have a second to that motion of laying this over?
Second.
Second by Mr. Clay. Any I gotta pull off the names, any discussion on this layover? Okay, I see none. Madam Clerk, call a roll, please.
Elvin Wire,
Yes.
Larry Jokers,
No.
Nicole Baker,
No.
Scott Helms,
No.
Sally Brashaw,
No.
Brian Brandt,
No.
Daniel Rohr,
No.
Mark Diddens,
No.
Garrett Miller,
No.
Jerry Clay,
Yes.
Samuel Newton,
No.
Ronnie Bush,
No.
Rebecca Quiggle,
No.
Charles Hilton,
No.
Casey Anthony,
No.
Dale Diddens,
No.
Kurt Copeland,
No.
Kevin Tombson,
No.
Erica Monroe,
No.
Ron Flegel,
No.
William Hadley,
No.
19 no, 2 A.
Okay, that fails. Ms. Bradshaw, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Chairman Hadley. Mr. Chad Reedy, Dr. Reedy, wrote us almost a thesis. You all received the email from him. I hope you had time to read it, and including the letters to the governor. Mr. Reedy, I spoke to him on the phone a couple different times about this. He is very dedicated to his field of dentistry, and he's also dedicated to look out for the health of others. He takes very seriously his position on the health department board, and he wrote some very heartfelt words in this letter. I just had a couple things I wanted to highlight. He basically gave me permission to just pick a few paragraphs to read to the public. I'm writing to you concerning the last Stephenson County Board meeting where a negative vote was recorded to not allow 3 highly qualified persons to serve another term on the Stephenson County Health Department Board, namely Clarence Parks, MD, Lynn Miller RN, and Shavana Sadela, licensed clinical social worker. These 3 individuals are highly qualified residents of the county. They have previously served on the health board and were renominated and agreed to serve another term. Curriculum vitae and resumes were submitted for the interview process. Note that a physician, dentist, and nurse are required on the health department board. Mr. Hadley stated he had a phone conversation with the individuals and members of the committee during debate of the candidates. Not one board member stated that these candidates were in any way unqualified to serve. The debate centered around the COVID epidemic and the response of the federal government, CDC, Governor Pritzker, and the state of Illinois Health Department imposing mandates and restrictions upon us. The Health Department Board upholding the governor's mandates was also mentioned. Mr. Reedy described the legalities, quoted the state statutes, and he went on to state that there are several cases filed against the COVID pandemic in Illinois, talked about Governor Pritzker's lawsuit, what happened including with the vacating or restraining order issued by the lower court, meaning a statewide mask mandate requirement in schools could be instituted in the future. He went on to talk about legal conclusions, and he said the angst of some of the Stephenson County board members is misdirected. Their complaints should be directed to Governor Pritzker, not the Stephenson County Health Department Board. It is my understanding that the Health Department Board, not following Governor Pritzker's mandates, Mr. Beintema, the Health Department Board, and the Stephenson County Board could be held liable. The state could withhold all county funding. It is my hope the chairperson of the Stephenson County Board will renew the nominations. And he thanked us for our consideration in this matter. Concerning the Stephenson County Health Department, my conclusions were the quarantine issues were followed by executive order. Whether or not they wanted to be followed, they felt they had to do that. The county can be held liable if orders are not followed, and funding can be withheld. In my opinion, and it's only my opinion, trying to follow the mandates and the governor's orders was similar to following a moving target. They changed, and sometimes they changed daily. Mr. Beintema, the board members, and the health department employees felt that they did whatever they were supposed to do by following these executive orders according to law. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Vargas, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Chairman. I appreciated Dr. Reedy sent that letter. It might have been in response to a letter that I had sent out to a couple people. One of the main concerns I had was the shutting down of the churches in this county, or at least they tried to at one point. And what I asked of the three candidates was to promise never again to close down those churches and never again close down businesses or schools without due process because of the Fifth Amendment of the U.S. Constitution and Article 1, Section 2 of the Illinois State Constitution, and properly follow 20 ILCS 2305, which I'm not sure that they quite word. And it seems like they were bowing down to Governor Pritzker's reckless mandates. In Mr. Reed's letter, he said a couple things that I wanted to clarify are correct. He said the county board really hadn't done much, if they wanted to send a letter or whatever. Well, I went back and looked before my time. There was a letter sent to Governor Pritzker on April 28, 2020, concerns about the COVID-19 mandates and the financial damage that would incur if those mandates continued. And then there was also a policy that was approved on November 10th, 2021, I think it was, 2020, excuse me, November 10th, 2020, have that right here. So the county board did do some things to try to tell the county or the state, hey, we're not happy with you. And I think the county did a great job of putting this policy together of what they could do for employees and safety of that. I got a couple more comments real quickly here. I don't want to take everybody's time, but I fully understand the need to appropriate safety measures to minimize the spread of COVID. However, my main concern with the local health board was their go along with or peer pressured into response to IDPH and Governor Pritzker's action against churches, businesses, and schools during the COVID crisis. Closing down or restricting capacity of churches while leaving large businesses open was ruled unconstitutional by the Supreme Court on May 28, 2021 in the South Bay United Pentecostal Church versus Gavin Newsom, Governor of California case to the Supreme Court. I'm pretty sure the creator of the universe doesn't need the government meddling in his churches. Governor Pritzker may be duly elected, but he does not have limitless, unending emergency powers. So what does Mr. Pritzker do? He is challenged in court by two Illinois churches approximately around May 28, 2020. Within hours after that, within 4 hours of the deadline, after Mr. Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh ordered Pritzker to respond by 8 p.m. that Thursday, 4 hours before the deadline, the governor releases guidelines rather than mandates for houses of worship that wish to resume church services following the coronavirus lockdowns. I'll jump forward here quickly, but the other big piece here, and yes, we are kind of misdirecting a little bit of our concerns or anger or whatever for Mr. Governor Pritzker, but he has developed a pattern of a tyrant, basically the mandate, then pull back the challenge forward. He's repeated the same pattern with lockdowns, business vaccine mandates, and recently the school vaccine mandates. I won't get into the COVID thing. I had it myself, and so I'm fully aware of the issues. I mean, I think the healthcare industry tried the best they could, but I think they failed miserably on a lot of fronts. Obviously, the vaccine is not working. Anthony Fauci, Governor Pritzker got COVID after 3 shots or whatever. It is not working. So the country of India, and I think the health department should really focus on what they did over there. But India focused on preventative and early treatment medicines. They had 1/2 the deaths, but they have 4 times the population of the U.S. Clearly, India managed this better. One of the issues is this particular virus is very highly susceptible to mutation, and vaccinating against it just increases that mutation. Lastly, I appreciate the public comments by Mr. Quinn, who I highly respect. And if he says these three health care professionals are top-notch, then I will change my vote to yes. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Clay, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Wow. I guess we'll just go down through this point by point. No, our board chairman sits up here and tells us, I go out, I find appointments, I bring them to the board makes the decision, and that's that. Not true, is it? He's bringing them back. The board made a decision, he doesn't like it. Change your minds. Well, that's what everybody's doing. Number two, Gary Quinn that came up and spoke to us. You know, the appropriate thing would have been for him to come up and explain what connection he has with our Board of Health before he gave us his comments. Would have been nice to know, wouldn't it? We would have known where his slant was going. He didn't. I call that a conflict of interest. When you belong to the Board of Health and you come up and you make comments like that, that's a conflict of interest. Number three, some people from Dakota came and talked to this board. They asked a very important question. How are the Board of Health members picked? And they found out from this board that the Department of Health goes out and finds people for that position. Wouldn't you call that a conflict of interest? He asked how long this has been going on. This board goes for as long as we can remember. That's sort of like calling the fox that's watching the hen house, and guess what? We're the chickens. Number four, when our Board of Health is picked by the Department of Health, and they were, and this board put him in that position, and then the same three people that he's already went out and picked come up for reappointment, they ask the same people to be re-questioned as to whether they're competent or not. Nobody's suggesting that they're not competent. Nobody said that these aren't competent people. We're disagreeing with the policies they put in place. Next point. You know, the federal government doesn't come down here and trample our constitutional rights. The state government doesn't come down here and trample our constitutional rights. The county is sitting here trampling our constitutional rights through the health department. It isn't the federal government that comes down here and does it. It's the bureaucrats in this county, our Department of Health. They're the tyrants. We have a wicked governor that had no constitutional authority to do what he did. And yet everybody down here is just we're going to do what he tells us to do. We don't care whether it's constitutional or not. We threw all of our constitutional rights and human rights and God-given rights right out the window. We ought to be furious with what these bureaucrats have done to us, instead of sitting here and saying, well, these aren't such bad people. Yeah, they are. You know what? They followed an evil governor, and people were murdered in this county. And we're going to sit here. We're the representatives of the people in this county, right here. This is us. And we're going to sit here and go, yeah, let's just overlook this. Let's just go on. Just exactly when do you think that any of us are ever gonna stand up and say, stop this nonsense? When is that gonna happen? Do we think 40 years down the road for our grandchildren? Do we think 10 years down the road for our children? I don't see it. I just see people changing their minds because, you know what? I want to be a nice guy. You know what? I'd love to be a nice guy too. But the bottom line is, we can't take our constitutional God-given rights that we were given in this country from our forefathers and pass them on to the next generation if we don't stand. Our forefathers paid a real price to give us a government where we control things. And you know what? We're throwing it all out the window. We're letting the federal government come down here and tell us to jump. We're letting the state come down here and tell us to jump, and now we're letting the county chairman of this board tell us to jump. And we're going to jump in his direction because he doesn't like the decision we made. You know what, people? It's time for somebody to stand up. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Ms. Anthony, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First, I just wanted to clarify one thing, that Mr. Quinn is not on the Board of Health. He is on the FHN Board of Directors. He is not on the Board of Health. Secondly, I kind of want to repeat what Mr. Helm said last month when we spoke about this, with the Board of Health doing so much more than just what they were doing with looking at COVID and everything that came down now. I'm sure it consumed a lot of time because of everything that was happening, but there's so much more that we do. But we don't know that because we don't attend those meetings. And so, you know, I do suggest that if you have concerns with what the Board of Health is doing, that you attend those meetings, or at least at minimum read those minutes to see exactly what goes on there. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Jarvis, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Chairman. I think with some of the conversation here today, I think that these three people have got the message. They got it last month. And with the court rulings that are out there, even though they won't commit to it, I don't think they're going to try to shut churches down again. I think they've learned a lesson. If not, then that's when we need to stand up and push back on these people. There currently isn't much going on in the COVID world that we can push back on too much, but I think there's plenty of precedent out there that I think they've got the message. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Helms, go ahead.
I'd like to call the question, please.
You were the last one on, but okay, do I have a second to call the question?
Second.
Second by Ms. Bradshaw.
If no one else wishes to speak, I'll withdraw. I'm not going to withdraw then.
Okay.
That's what beat this to death.
Yep. Madam Clerk, call roll, please.
Comment.
Yes.
You know, the bottom line is, if somebody
Well,
was...
they can't debate when they call the question. There's no debate on that.
Oh, I thought you said you would withdraw. I said I
debate that.
Yeah, I thought you could. Can you hold on just 1 minute. Just like 1 minute, I have to look it up here.
A motion to call the question is not debatable.
That's what I thought. Okay, Madam Clerk, call roll, please.
Scott Helms.
Mr. Chairman, would you please State what we're voting.
Madam Clerk, state what we're voting on, please.
Mr. Helms made a motion to call for the question, second by Ms. Brashaw.
Thank you.
Scott Helms.
Aye.
Sally Brashaw.
Aye.
Brian Brandt.
Aye.
Daniel Rohr.
Aye.
Mark Diddens.
Aye.
Garrett Miller.
No.
Jerry Clay.
No.
Samuel Newton.
Aye.
Ronnie Bush.
Aye.
Rebecca Quiggle.
Aye.
Charles Hilton.
Aye.
Casey Anthony.
Aye.
Dale Diddens.
Aye.
Kurt Copeland.
No.
Kevin Toomson.
No.
Erica Monroe.
No.
Ron Flegel.
Aye.
Alvin Wire.
No.
Larry Jokers.
Aye.
Nicole Baker.
Aye.
William Hadley.
Aye.
Fifteen yes, 6 no.
Okay, pass. I thought it was 15 because of 22 board members, maybe because of the vacancy of 21.
It's because of the vacancy, and it's not of the total board, it's of the members present.
Okay, okay.
But 15 or 14 either way.
Yes, it passed. So, Madam Clerk, it passed, so call roll on the appointment, please.
Scott Helms.
Aye.
Sally Brashaw.
Aye.
Brian Brandt.
Aye.
Daniel Rohr.
Aye.
Mark Diddens.
Aye.
Garrett Miller.
No.
Jerry Clay.
No.
Samuel Newton.
Aye.
Ronnie Bush.
Aye.
Rebecca Quiggle.
I just like to say I'm not changing my mind. Aye.
Charles Hilton.
Aye.
Casey Anthony.
Aye.
Dale Diddens.
Aye.
Kurt Copeland.
No.
Kevin Toomson.
No.
Erica Monroe.
No.
Ron Flegel.
Aye.
Elvin Wire.
No.
Larry Jokers.
Aye.
Nicole Baker.
Aye.
William Hadley.
Aye.
Fifteen yes, 6 no.
15 to 6 passes. We will move on to the next appointment of, Tony Pesca, for the Zoning Board of Appeals. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
By Mr. Miller, a second by Mr. Jorgens. Any discussion on this appointment? I see none. Madam Clerk, call roll, please.
Garrett Miller.
Aye.
Jerry Clay.
Aye.
Samuel Newton.
Aye.
Ronnie Bush.
Aye.
Rebecca Quiggle.
Aye.
Charles Hilton.
Aye.
Casey Anthony.
Aye.
Dale Diddens.
Aye.
Kurt Copeland.
Aye.
Kevin Toomson.
Aye.
Erica Monroe.
Aye.
Ron Flegel.
Aye.
Elvin Wire.
No.
Larry Jokers.
Aye.
Nicole Baker.
Aye.
Scott Helms.
Aye.
Sally Brashaw.
Aye.
Brian Brandt.
Aye.
Daniel Rohr.
Aye.
Mark Diddens.
Aye.
William Hadley.
Aye.
20 yes, 1 no.
20 yes, 1 no. We'll move on to finance. Mr. Helms, go ahead.
Thank you. First item I have is discussion and approval of Blue Cross Blue Shield renewal. On the phone, I believe we have Carrie McBride of Diamond Brothers, who is the county's insurance broker. And she's going to discuss the upcoming health, dental, vision, and life renewal quote. I'll turn it over to Carrie.
Good evening, can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Hello, thank you for having me. Again, my name is Carrie McBride. I'm with Diamond Brothers Insurance Agency. I am your health broker. I've had the privilege of serving for you the last year or so. This year, we went out to quote the employee benefits, which are medical, dental, vision, and life insurance. Before you, you will see some very small print. I apologize for that on page 1 and page 2. If you could please just listen to what I have to say really quick, and then I will dive into the numbers for you. Previous to 2020, you were with the local government health plan with the state. In 2020 through now, you were with Blue Cross Blue Shield with savings at about $1 million per year. During these last almost 2 years, the loss ratio for the county for the medical coverage averaged about 176%, which in health insurance terms, that's not a good or well-performing group. This year, we went out to approximately 20 carriers, both for fully insured and self-insured plans. All the carriers declined to quote because we did get a renewal figure or package from Blue Cross Blue Shield. They all took a look at that renewal and said this was a good renewal and we should stay with it. So just giving you the background on these numbers. Turning to the pages that were just handed out to you, on page 1 is a colorful page there. I would direct your attention to the top. It says current plans along the left-hand side. The numbers I would like to direct your attention to are on the right side. The numbers in the middle are the plan designs. You don't necessarily need to concern yourself with that until I get into it a little bit later. This just illustrates that they are the exact same plans as the county has had for the last 2 years. On the top two is the PPO plan, which all except for 2 people are on. You can see in the white line, the single, the premium, for a single person is $737.19 a month. Of that, the county picks up around 80 to 82%, depending on the employee type. The employee picks up around 20%, give or take. We'll get into that detail later. Following those numbers to the right, a single plus spouse, the total cost per month is $1,424.99. Single with children is $1,363.30, and a family is $2,115.73. That is the expiring monthly costs for these plans. The top row in green is the renewal numbers from Blue Cross Blue Shield given the loss history and claims paid out. You can see there is significant increases there. I do have an amendment to these numbers. Again, I'll get to it on the next page, so I will give you those numbers so you can write them down and see them. They're not significant. They're just a couple of dollars off on each case. Does anyone have any questions on that so far?
I see none, go ahead. I see none, go ahead.
Okay. Further on that section, again, there's only 2 people on your HSA plan that has a $1,500 deductible, and you can see the pricing there. There is 2 single people. Just thought I'd mention that. In the yellow on that first page are 4 other additional offerings that I suggest we give your employees to choose from. Again, I'll get into some details there later, but there's 3 PPO options and 1 HSA option with varying deductibles. The idea here is to offset the monthly premium increase. And again, in those yellow boxes, you can see the range of cost. If an employee so chose to increase their deductible, they actually could save money in their monthly premium by choosing a little bit higher deductible plan. Does anyone have any questions on that?
I see none, continue.
Okay, moving on to page 2. I'm going to ask for your patience and follow along with me on here. What I'm really trying to drive at is the increase that boils down into a per month change by employee, depending on the plans they are on. The box on the upper left corner just walks through the old plan per month based on single, double, single plus kids and family, and then the general split between what the county pays versus what the employee pays. So the last 2 years, from 2020 to 2022, there was a savings on the right side there that generated the $1 million in savings, and it was a savings boiled down to the employees. In the left side middle box that says renewal October 1st, 2022 to September 30th, 2023, I need you guys to get your pencils out and write a couple of things down for me, please. The single monthly cost listed on this sheet says $1,024.24. That number needs to be amended to $1,027.64. Going one down, the number that is $1,979.84 needs to be amended to $1,986.44. Single plus kids going down to 1,894.13 needs to be amended to 1,900.44. Finally, the family needs to be amended, the number of $29.39.55 needs to be changed to $2,949.33. Very slight difference, but I just got updated numbers. The rates that Blue Cross Blue Shield released to us last week were blended rates. These are specific rates. So I need you to understand them. It's very slight changes, but you do need to know what they are. In that middle box, again, I do the math. Generally speaking, the county picks up 80-ish, sometimes 82%, depending on the employee's department they work in, and the employee picks up 20%. The right side there, the increase per month, going down from the top $57.41 for a single, all the way down to $164.76 for a family. That is the impact of the increase per month, per person, depending on the plan they're on for this year. Now those numbers are slightly different based on the numbers I gave you. Again, they're between 68 cents to $1.96 per month, depending on the plan. Very, very different, or very insignificant, excuse me. Again, that HSA plan, there's only 2 people on that plan in the county. So, a couple of comments that I will make that drove this increase. As I talked to the finance committee throughout the year and kept them in the loop on the progression of claims paid versus premiums paid on this plan, there's varying factors that drove the increase. I can speak to them now if you have questions, or I can keep going if you wish.
I see no questions so far. Continue, please.
Okay. The bottom left box is the ancillary coverage, ancillary meaning dental, vision, and life. Dearborn is a subsidiary of Blue Cross Blue Shield, the same company. The dental went down slightly, 3%. The rates, the vision, and life stayed the same. On a double, 35 on single plus children, and 40 on the family plan. And as I said, only 2 on the HSA. The box on the right side breaks down the additional offerings and compares the costs for what the current plans that are in place there. And then if employees choose higher deductibles, it decreases their costs. I won't read off the numbers, I assume you can read those, but you can see there, for example, on the rightmost column there, if someone chose a $2,500 deductible, the total cost is actually cheaper than last year's cost of $737. The idea here is to give folks options to either stay on the current plan at the increased rates or increase their deductibles and decrease the monthly costs. Does anyone have any questions?
Nice. Ms. Bradshaw, go ahead. I have a question.
Thank you, Karen, is it?
Yes.
When you talk about them increasing their deductibles, is this all voluntary on one plan, or do we have to determine whether that's an option?
It's all voluntary. So the plans that are offered that have been in place the last 2 years are still going to be offered. By law, an employer can offer up to 6 plans, and the employee can choose any of the plans that they wish to have.
Thank you, Karen.
Continue to go on, please.
I really don't have anything further. Just wanted to go through the numbers. If anyone has any specific questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, go ahead, Mr. Hamlin.
So the important thing to know about this renewal process is there's realistically only 2 options. We go back to where we came from, which is the state of Illinois, where the premiums are comparable to what the renewal is with Blue Cross Blue Shield, but the coverages are far less. Or we do renew with Blue Cross Blue Shield with offering the 0 deductible along with other deductible options. We're incredibly lucky, in my opinion, that we weren't canceled. My company has Blue Cross Blue Shield, and we experienced a 24% increase in premium, and my broker told me they couldn't believe we didn't get canceled. Blue Cross is offering us a renewal roughly in the 42% range. It's obvious to me at least that they're trying to get some of their money back. They paid 6.7 in claims, 6.7 million, and they only received 4.2 million in premium. But this is a 12-month renewal. I guess if nobody has any other questions, I will make a motion to approve renewing with Blue Cross Blue Shield.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Oh, second by Mr. Copeland. Any discussion on this? Mr. Clay, go ahead.
I'm not saying that it's not the way to go with the motion. But what I have to say is, when we're averaging $25,000 in medical payments per employee in the county, something's or somebody's way out of line.
0 deductible.
I'm not debating that, but all I'm saying
No, I'm
is.
saying that's the reason.
I
There's
agree.
no skin in the game.
Right, but $25,000 is what we paid for every employee, that's what Blue Shield paid. $25,000 for every employee in this county last year. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Clay. Okay, I see no more discussion. Madam Clerk, call roll, please.
Scott Helms.
Aye.
Sally Brashaw.
Aye.
Brian Brandt.
Aye.
Daniel Rourke.
Aye.
Garrett Miller.
Aye.
Jerry Clay.
I'm not voting.
He doesn't take a per diem anyways, can
He doesn't even get a per diem, so it doesn't make a difference.
Yeah, okay. I'm not even gonna get into it. An abstention in this case would count as a concurrence with the majority, but I don't think it's gonna matter. So, look, I would recommend we just move on.
Ronnie Bush.
Aye.
Rebecca Quiggle.
Aye.
Charles Hilton.
Aye.
Casey Anthony.
Aye.
Dale Diddens.
Aye.
Kurt Copeland.
Aye.
Kevin Toomson.
Aye.
Erica Monroe.
Aye.
Ron Flegel.
Aye.
Elvin Wire.
Yes.
Larry Jokers.
Aye.
Nicole Baker.
Aye.
William Hadley.
Yes.
And Sam Newton and Mark Diddens have left the meeting. So 18A.
What is it again?
18.
18?
Yeah.
18. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Helms, go ahead.
Carrie, are you still on?
I am.
Would you mind discussing the next steps with the board?
Yes, I can. So now that this has been approved, my agency will be populating an online enrollment system with all of these plans and rates. This online enrollment system will enable every employee to see on the screen what their options are and the impact to their paycheck, whether they're, I don't know what your pay periods are, weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, whatever that is, and the, whatever counties, whatever the employee or contribution rate is, will also be loaded in. So the exact dollars will be laid out depending on which plan, and they can compare plans. They can click on 2 or 3, compare the deductibles, compare the monthly rates. They will also sign up for the life insurance. They will designate their beneficiaries. All of it will be done online and be taken care of that way. Members of our agency will be on hand to answer questions in this process. I will say last year we were on hand for open enrollment, and we probably had maybe 20 or 30 attend the open enrollment sessions. This year, we will be available for whatever questions are needed, and we will also roll out to any and all the department heads details on this as well ahead of open enrollment via online. So that we will populate the system here in the next couple of weeks. And by law, open enrollment is supposed to be 30 days. So that should start September 1st and it ends September 30th. And this plan will be in place on October 1st. One of the good things with staying with the same carrier is deductibles are calendar basis. So we shouldn't run into any issues there unless we switch plans. Again, my staff and I will review details there. I think that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You go ahead, Mr. Helms.
Next, I have approval of a resolution for the sale of surplus property 18-14-31-436-010, 402-404 East Shawnee Street. This is actually a surrender of the tax sale certificate, which means that the owner has paid everything and they'll be getting their property back. So this is a good thing. And with that, I will make a motion to approve.
Second by Mr. Dorgas. Go ahead, Madam Clerk, call roll, please.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, go ahead, Mr. Clay. Sorry, I missed it. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So that means we're not gonna steal somebody's property?
That's fine.
Thank you.
Okay. Go ahead, Madam Clerk.
Scott Helms.
Aye.
Sally Brashaw.
Aye.
Brian Brandt.
Aye.
Daniel Rohr.
Aye.
Garrett Miller.
Aye.
Jerry Clay.
Aye.
Ronnie Bush.
Aye.
Rebecca Quiggle.
Aye.
Charles Hilton.
Aye.
Casey Anthony.
Aye.
Dale Diddens.
Aye.
Kurt Copeland.
Aye.
Kevin Tombson.
Aye.
Erica Monroe.
Aye.
Ron Flegel.
He's,
Alvin Wire.
Yes.
Larry Jokers.
Aye.
Nicole Baker.
Aye.
William Hadley.
yes.
Unanimous.
19, you're not concerned. Okay, information, Mr. Helms, go ahead.
Yes, at the last department head meeting, I believe Mrs. Newcomer and Mrs. DeWall had mentioned to the department heads to reach out to oversight committee chairs to meet directly with them regarding the budget, the upcoming process. I would also encourage, I know I'm a broken record here, but I would encourage all board members to familiarize themselves with the entire budget as well as that budget of the oversight committee to which you serve, so that you're familiar with it going into the process. We are really going to press this year to make sure that most of the discussion points and deliberations are done at the oversight level and not necessarily all at finance, if at all possible. So that will be starting here next month. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Copeland, go ahead with your action item.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Before us is another resolution establishing the salary for the office of sheriff, effective December 1st, 2022. On May 19th, the original resolution was passed. with the unknown salary of the state's attorney's office. And we have that number now, the state's attorney's salary. And the salary for the sheriff, which would be 80% of the state's attorney's salary, would be $151,003.01. And that would take effect of December 1st when the new sheriff is sworn in. We had some good discussion in committee on this. It wasn't voted on, and we decided to forward it to the full board for discussion and vote.
I make
I make a motion to accept the approved resolution.
Do I have a second by Ms. Monroe? Discussion. Mr. Wire, you go, please.
Thank you. Some of the counties were paying.
Can you get closer to the mic for the folks at home?
Some of the counties were paying a very low salary to the sheriffs, and the state didn't like that. And so they stepped in and said, we are going to set the salary for the sheriff of the counties. It's strictly a case of the state taking away the freedom of each county to decide for themselves what they'll pay for the sheriff and the state's attorney. State's attorney, public defender. It's just a move that takes it away from them. They don't like what we're doing. Okay, we'll tell you what you have to do. I'm not opposed to necessarily some of the salary increases, but I don't think the state should have the right to come in and tell the counties how to run their own business.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Clay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. From my understanding, we're all being lied to by the state in this respect. The state said they were going to reimburse the county for the $100,000 increase in the sheriffs, and we pick up the other third. Bottom line is, from my understanding, we have a corporate income tax in this county. And what the state has done, and we spend all that money that we get from the corporate income tax. It's already in our budget, we spend it. But the state's come along and said, you're gonna take that $100,000 out of that corporate income tax. That's where you're gonna get it to pay the sheriff. Well, we're already spending that money. So the state's not reimbursing us for this increase. They're lying to us, and they're getting control of a county office. Now, we've got a wicked governor in this state, and he passed wicked mandates on us unconstitutionally, and some counties resisted it in this state. But what do you think is going to happen when the state's paying the chief executive officer in the county, the sheriff, is paying his salary, and another wicked governor comes along and says, shut all the businesses down, force everybody to wear masks, everybody's going to get shots, you're going to enforce it. What do you think that sheriff's going to do when his paycheck is coming from the state? And we're the ones that are making the decision right now. Now, I understand that the resolution was already passed and we're just changing the salary figure in it. But it's time to say no, because what are they gonna do? What are they gonna do? They're gonna say, we're gonna take the money. They're not gonna take the money away. They're not giving us any money anyway. So why don't we stand up and say, hey, we want our county back. We're gonna take control. No to this resolution. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Copley, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't disagree with a lot of what Mr. Clay just said. I don't know what the sheriff does day to day. He has to sit behind his desk for a full month. He's got in charge of a lot of jail, everybody in the jail, prisoners, deputies, and he'll get sued at the drop of a hat. Like I said, I don't disagree with what Mr. Clay said, but at the end of the day, this is state law, and if we don't pass the resolution, we'll probably get sued and lose.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Copeland. I see no more discussion. Madam Clerk, call roll, please.
Kurt Copeland,
Aye.
Kevin Tombson,
Aye.
Erica Monroe,
Aye.
Ron Flegel,
Aye.
Elvin Wire,
No.
Larry Jokers,
No.
Nicole Baker,
Aye.
Scott Helms,
Aye.
Sally Brashaw,
Aye.
Brian Brandt,
Aye.
Daniel Rohr,
Aye.
Garrett Miller,
Aye.
Jerry Clay,
No.
Ronnie Bush,
Aye.
Rebecca Quiggle,
Aye.
Charles Hilton,
Aye.
Casey Anthony,
Aye.
Dale Diddens,
Aye.
William Hadley,
Yes.
(16-3).
16-3 passes. Any information out of your committee, Mr. Copeland?
Just a couple of air conditioning units broke and they're going to be replaced.
Okay, thank you very much. We will move on to administration.
Yes.
Question?
Oh, yeah, go ahead, Mr. Clay.
Question for the chairman of that committee. Just exactly how are those units going to be replaced? When the sheriff hasn't come and asked the committee if he can have money to replace them.
That I will direct to the chairman.
There's going to be a resolution at the end of the meeting that will address that problem.
Well, what does the resolution say?
Did you read it, Mr. Clay, or?
I did,
Okay.
but I didn't read that we're gonna tell him that he can spend the money.
Well, it's going to stop him from doing what he's doing, I believe, with this resolution. So when we get to that point, we can probably further discuss that situation.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I have no further.
Okay, administration, you have an action item, go ahead.
Yes, thank.
Am I on?
Yeah.
There you go. Thank you, Chairman. The item that we have before us is approval of resolution establishing the holiday calendar for 2023. That was item 17 in your packet. We'll discuss it. Make a motion to approve.
I have a second by Mr. Rohr. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that the same number of holidays are in there. There was the same type of shift we did in July as we did this year, so it's basically the same calendar. Thank you.
Any discussion, Mr. Clay, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm opposed to this. I think that the average employee gets something like 2 weeks vacation in the county, maybe it's 3. There's 2 weeks of holidays here, and they get sick days besides. I mean, we're getting close to 2 months off. That's 1/6 of the year. It's too much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, Mr. Dale Dibbs, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to throw in this comment. I worked in industry my entire professional career. And we didn't get anywhere near this number of vacation or holidays paid. I think there's 4 of them in here that I would give my, if I had a chance, I would take 4 of them off, but, so I won't support this just because of that. I think it's good ridiculous.
Okay, thank you. Any more discussion? See none, Madam Clerk, call roll, please.
Larry Jokers,
Aye.
Nicole Baker,
Aye.
Scott Helms,
Aye.
Sally Brashaw,
Aye.
Brian Brandt,
Aye.
Daniel Rohr,
Aye.
Garrett Miller,
Aye.
Jerry Clay,
No.
Ronnie Bush,
Aye.
Rebecca Quiggle,
No.
Charles Hilton.
Aye.
Casey Anthony.
Aye.
Dale Diddens.
No.
Kurt Copeland.
Aye.
Kevin Tombson.
No.
Erica Monroe.
No.
Ron Flegel.
No.
Elvin Wire.
No.
William Hadley.
Yes.
Twelve yes, 7 no.
12 yes, 7 no, that passes. Any information out of your committee?
Yeah, I have one more item. I just wanted to say thank you to the IT manager, Mr. Wilkinson. Tonight, he has YouTube cameras up front working, and he is live streaming this. And we're going to be able to leave those on YouTube for future reference, or when people have time to watch them, to be able to watch them. So I really appreciate the good work there. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we're gonna move on to court services. Mr. Dale Diddens, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have 2 action items. We have the approval of a resolution establishing the salary for the Office of State's Attorney, and the approval of a resolution establishing the salary for the Office of Public Defender. Both of these resolutions passed the committee. I would make a motion to approve them tonight.
Both of them?
Both of them.
Okay,
Yes.
do I have a second?
Second.
A second by Ms. Anthony. Discussion. Mr. Copeland, go ahead.
Yeah, I have, wondering if there's an amendment needed. I looked at this real close now. On the sheriff's one, it has the 66% reimbursement, and the state attorney does not have that, whereas portion in the second paragraph.
Well, the state's attorney's, the state's attorney's salary is reimbursed in a different way.
Okay.
Instead of 66% reimbursement of the increase, it's a 100% reimbursement of any increase after, I think, 1989. It should be in the resolution, the date. Let me pull it up for you here. Let's see. The second, whereas the county shall be reimbursed 100% for any increase taking place after December 31st, 1988.
I understand that. Thank you.
Is that it, Mr. Copeland?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Clay, go ahead.
Can you tell me where the financing comes from? Is it like the sheriff?
I couldn't tell you that. I would assume that it would be, but I don't know.
Personal property replacement tax.
Comes out of corporate
Personal property replacement tax.
personal property, and it's.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, go ahead, Mr. Allen.
So it is called personal property replacement tax, but it is taxes on corporations once the counties are no longer allowed to tax on personal property. So any corporation, S Corp, C Corp, anything like that, that's how it's funded. That fund itself.
Right. And so it's just like the sheriffs we were spending the money before, and the state just came along and said, now you're gonna take it out of that fund.
Correct, but we've already been taking funds from that account for the state's attorney and the public defender.
Right.
The sheriff is just a new exercise.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Clay. I see no further discussion. Madam Clerk, call roll, please.
Dale Diddens.
Aye.
Kurt Copeland.
Aye.
Kevin Tombson.
Aye.
Erica Monroe.
Aye.
Ron Flegel.
Aye.
Elvin Wire.
Yeah.
Larry Jokers.
Aye.
Nicole Baker.
Aye.
Scott Helms.
Aye.
Sally Brashaw.
Aye.
Brian Brandt.
Aye.
Daniel Rohr.
Aye.
Garrett Miller. Jerry Clay.
No.
Ronnie Bush.
Aye.
Rebecca Quiggle.
Aye.
Charles Hilton.
Aye.
Casey Anthony.
Aye.
William Hadley.
Yes.
1 no, motion carries.
Okay, motion carries 18-1. Any information out of your committee?
Not this time.
Okay, thank you very much. Ms. Anthony, action out of your committee, go ahead.
Oh, can we move back to court services for just a minute?
Yes, okay, go ahead.
I had the pleasure of attending the Art Museum spoken word performance this afternoon. That was one of the things that was funded through the youth diversion funds. And some of the youth that performed did agree to let the board see with the poetry they had written. So Ms. Newcomer did email that out today, but I did bring a copy of them if anyone wants to see them on paper, so I'll just pass them around. Thank you.
Okay, go ahead with the nursing home then.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First up, we have on the agenda the approval of claims in the amount of $158,309.38 pending funding. So this is coming out and separated from the initial claims because we took it separately due to a shortfall in revenue for a couple of reasons. The first being with Medicaid, there were things, there was revenue that we were expecting in based on what had been reported in the Matrix software system, which is what the nursing home itself uses for recording those. And Medicaid got back to us that that had already been submitted. It just hadn't been reported internally in Matrix. So that was expected revenue that we didn't see. Secondly, as far as Medicare goes, we did not start billing Medicare as quickly as we had thought because we had to apply for an ID number, which has happened. So that revenue as well was a little bit slower going. And so due to that shortfall, we went through and removed items that both the administrator and TCM reached out to companies to see if we could to delay vendor payments. The ones that were reached out to all agreed to it with no penalty for, I think, a span of either 30 or 45 days, depending on the vendor, to make those payments. And then also, two of them are from the county, as mentioned earlier, both the insurance and the IMRF. Speaking with the treasurer, Ms. Helms, she had indicated that there is some flexibility with the IMRF. So that one is absolutely, she felt comfortable with that one being delayed for a while. And we also mentioned as far as insurance goes that it doesn't have that same kind of flexibility as IMRF, so that would be the first item that would be paid off pending funding. So with that, to open this up for discussion, I will make a motion to approve.
Do I have a second on this? Okay, Mr. Dale didn't second it. Discussion. Mr. Wire, go ahead.
Thank you. Will this money result in that much less money for the next month's payment and create a bigger shortage next month because they have to pay off this month?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, go ahead, Ms. Anthony.
So we do have TCM and the administrator here, so if we're more comfortable with them answering those questions. I know that the most recent weekly financial projections that they put out on Monday, they do account for all of that. So that was just transferred from 1 week to the next week as far as that money being available. And it's still at this time being projected that it's just really this month where there's the largest issue, and in August we'll be back in above zero.
Did you want them to come up, Mr. Wire, to explain?
That's sufficient answer.
Okay, Mr. Clay, go ahead.
Thank you. When you're voting on this, just remember, we just got the auditor's report, 2021, and the auditors said the position at the nursing home changed last year, a negative $1,578,819. Keep that in mind. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Any more discussion? I see none. Madam Clerk, call roll, please.
Casey Anthony.
Aye.
Dale Diddens.
Aye.
Kurt Copeland.
No.
Kevin Tombson.
Aye.
Erica Monroe.
No.
Ron Flegel.
Aye.
Elvin Wire.
No.
Larry Jogerst.
No.
Nicole Baker.
Aye.
Scott Helms.
No.
Sally Brashaw.
Aye.
Brian Brandt.
Aye.
Daniel Rohr.
Aye.
Garrett Miller.
No.
Jerry Clay.
No.
Ronnie Bush.
Aye.
Rebecca Quiggle.
Aye.
Charles Hilton.
Aye.
William Hadley.
Aye.
Yes, 7 no.
12 yes, 7 no, that passes. Information out of your committee.
Yes, I just wanted to update on the information that was sent out towards the beginning of this month regarding IDPH sending a fine in regards to staffing. So they did reach out, and just as had been predicted, IDPH rescinds the notices of staffing violations, and also stated that no one has to appeal or submit any hearing requests, that they're just rescinding that on their own. I know, we talked about where we're at with the nursing home right now in response to Mr. Clay. Yes, we're at 1.6 million, but there's also over $900,000 that were not received. And that's for what we could potentially submit still for billing. And so it's not a fully accurate picture as far as if you're looking in the long haul. Obviously, it does not look good for 2021, which is why I really wanted to make it a point for 2022 to make sure to separate 2021 from 2022 so we could get a very accurate picture of 2022, particularly because seeing the difference with having a management company now versus not. I know a lot of times we talk about staffing agencies and how we didn't budget for that cost. And so if you look at our revenue and expense reports, revenue is at 44.68%, while expenses at 43.52%. So while we are using staffing agency more than we would like, it's not at this point really put us over as far as a balanced budget at the end of the year. Ms. Harris did present her goals at the last committee meeting, and one of her goals is to reduce staffing agency, and we're certainly on track, particularly to do that with CNAs. As far as the nursing home, that's all I have on the nursing home. I also serve on the 708 board. So I did want to note that Rosecrans, which is a newer organization that's receiving funding from the 708 Mental Health Board, does have an open house. They did just open a facility here in in Freeport, and that is on July 28th from 11:30 to 1:30. So I gave the wrong date in finance if anyone wrote that down. So it's July 28th. Their new address is 1631 South Galena Avenue, with the presentation being at 12 p.m. And you do need to RSVP, so if you want that information, there is a Facebook event out there, so you can search it that way, but if you want the information to RSVP, the email listed, I can certainly do that to you too.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? Seeing none. We will move on to plan development. Mr. Newton ain't here, but Mr. Bush will take this action item.
Yes, last for approval of the 2022 Stephenson County Greenways and Trail Plan. I guess that's supposed to have been sent out?
Correct, that's been sent out.
Okay.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Miller. Any discussion? I see none. Madam Clerk, call roll, please.
Ronnie Bush.
Aye.
Rebecca Quiggle.
Aye.
Charles Hilton.
Aye.
Casey Anthony.
Aye.
Dale Diddens.
No.
Kurt Copeland.
Aye.
Kevin Toomson.
Aye.
Erica Monroe.
Aye.
Ron Flegel.
Aye.
Elvin Wire.
Yes.
Larry Jokers.
Aye.
Nicole Baker.
Aye.
Scott Helms.
Aye.
Sally Brashaw.
Aye.
Brian Brandt.
Aye.
Daniel Rohr.
Aye.
Garrett Miller.
Aye.
Jerry Clay.
No.
William Hadley.
Yes.
17-2.
17-2 passes. Any other information?
No more. No more
Okay.
information.
Thank you very much. We will go to Public Works. Mr. Miller, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This evening, I bring for you approval of HC 22-12, which is an extension to the Hutchinson Engineering contract we have with them. They've already gone through and done a high accident location plan for us. We're asking them to go ahead and do a countywide guardrail improvement proposal for us as well. This is in our pursuit of HSIP, Highway Safety Improvement Program, federal funding, giving as many opportunities as possible to secure those federal funds. With that, I would make a motion to approve.
Do I have a second? Second by Mr. Fleagle. Discussion. Mr. Clay, go ahead.
This is, to go after some more grant money from the federal government, some more of that funny money they keep putting up out there. I'm opposed to it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Clay. Okay, I see no discussion more. Madam Clerk, call roll, please.
Garrett Miller.
Aye.
Jerry Clay.
No.
Ronnie Bush.
Aye.
Rebecca Quiggle.
Aye.
Charles Hilton.
Aye.
Casey Anthony.
Aye.
Dale Diddens.
Aye.
Kurt Copeland.
Aye.
Kevin Toomson.
Aye.
Erica Monroe.
Aye.
Ron Fleagle.
Aye.
Elvin Wire.
Yes.
Larry Jogerst.
Aye.
Nicole Baker.
Aye.
Scott Helms.
Aye.
Sally Brashaw.
Aye.
Brian Brandt.
Aye.
Daniel Rohr.
Aye.
William Hadley.
Yes.
18-1.
18-1. Any other information, Mr. Miller, out of your committee?
Very little, Mr. Chairman. We continue to put Band-Aids on the amputations at our Stephenson County Road. We were committing to 22 miles of seal coating with our 50-year-old oil truck that we still await delivery of the replacement of. But it's holding together for now. Cold in place recycling on Florence Road and Fairgrounds Road continues along. The profiling is now done and we are awaiting it to dry so that we can seal it. I don't know if that's been finished yet. Construction will begin on Baileyville Road here soon as well. I have further information on other projects if other people have questions. Otherwise, that's all I've got.
Okay, I see none. We will move on to public comment. I will start with the people that are in the audience. Anybody have a public comment to make?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, go ahead, Mr. Helm.
Do you want me to go to the podium or here?
Yes, please.
I failed to mention in my finance report that the health department, in cooperation with the Illinois Extension Office in the city of Freeport, is having an annual electronics recycling event. It's going to be held on Saturday, August 20th from 9 a.m. until noon or until the trucks that are there are full. It will be in parking lot B of Highland Community College, rain or shine. This event is open to residents of Stephenson County only. There will be a $20 cash charge. Only correct change is accepted per vehicle, and only 7 items total are allowed per vehicle. Of those 7 items, only the following items can be accepted. If anything else is brought, it cannot be accepted. This is an IEPA approved event and their guidelines must be followed. Accepted items are computers and small scale servers, computer monitors, televisions, printers, fax machines, scanners, DVD players, DVD recorders, VCRs, video game consoles, digital converter boxes, cable receivers, satellite receivers, electronic keyboards, electronic mice, and portable music players. They still need volunteers for this event, and if you're interested in helping out, please contact the Director of Communications for the City of Freeport, Kevin Suter. His phone number is 815-801-8008. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Helms. Anybody else in the audience that wants to make public comment? How about on Zoom? Anybody on Zoom like to make public comment? You have 3 minutes. Raise your hand, please. Anybody on Zoom that wants to make public comment, raise your hand, please. You see anybody? Okay, I see nobody. We will move on to new business. On approval resolution here on the use of lease funds restricted. Mr. Helms?
Yes, I'll make.
Yeah, hold on. Go ahead.
I'll make a motion to approve this resolution to restrict the use of lease funds. I assume everyone has read this, so I won't bother going through that. This was brought about primarily because of the leased funds and their use. If you recall, last fall, I believe it was, it's getting late, the RFP that was provided to the board was rejected for replacement. It was a project that was to be done in its entirety and not piecemeal. Currently, the process for accessing these funds are to turn in an invoice to, I believe, both the administrator of the county and our finance director, where those invoices then would be sent to U.S. Bank for payment. So this resolution was crafted by our state's attorney to hopefully correct that process. And I don't know if the state's attorney has anything to add or not. If not, like I said, I don't make the motion to approve.
Wait a second. Second, Mr. Brandt, seconded. Mr. Clay, go ahead.
Question on paragraph number 4 for the finance chairman. Says portions of the lease funding have been used for routine maintenance and the replacement of failing equipment in a manner that circumvents the normal claims process. Does that include the things that are in the works right now?
To my knowledge, I believe that's what's being referenced, but also I do not believe any invoices have been turned in as of yet. In other words, no leased funds have been used to date unless that is not correct, and I'm just speaking here.
So all the illegal things that are going on right now behind closed doors, we're just gonna let her go through with this resolution. Is that what's going on?
You know, I guess I wouldn't guess that it's illegal. That's not my expertise. I'm a banker, not a lawyer. So
okay.
I don't know how to answer your question.
So let me comment to it. You know, here at the board, we have a policy that if it's over $20,000, it's got to come to the committee. It's got to get committee approval before it happens. Not happening. The sheriff is just going out and doing things behind our backs, behind this board's backs. And this resolution is written so that it's going to continue. It's not stopping it. In fact, he's not even going to have to come to the committee or the board. It's just going to happen. And so I move that the 4th paragraph be taken out of this resolution.
Go ahead.
Would you like me to speak to that, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, yeah, I'm gonna have, we're training.
I don't agree that the 4th paragraph would enable anyone to do anything. The 4th paragraph you're referring to is a whereas, which is a description of what's happened in the past. The resolution, the thing that the board is deciding is the therefore. So, I mean, you can take it out if you want. It's not going to change this resolution at all. It's just saying portions of that lease funding have been used for routine maintenance and the replacement of failing equipment in a manner that circumvents the normal claims process. And that's why we're saying no more of that money should be spent without a resolution of the county board. But like I say, it doesn't affect what you're deciding at all. So, I mean, if you want to take it out, take it out. If you want to leave it in, leave it in. It doesn't.
Okay, but so at what point do you know, do you know what's in the works?
Well, at one point I did, yes.
So you know exactly what's in the works. Can you tell us what's in the works?
There was a air conditioning unit for the state's attorney's office, and the sheriff showed me the exact price. It was $11,000 and maybe $700, but I just called it $12,000. There's a replacement air conditioning unit for the public safety building that was $29,700, and then there were like replacement parts, and I'm not going to get all of that exactly right, but for 2 units at the jail, and the estimate was between $5,000 and $6,000 per unit for a total of $12,000. That is all I'm aware of as being in the works. This resolution should funnel those types of things back through the claims process.
So can we include those three things, that those are the only things that are allowed in paragraph 4 of this resolution?
Well, paragraph 4 isn't allowing or denying anything. Paragraph 4 is a whereas. It's just saying this is why we're doing this.
I understand, and it's allowing these three things that you just talked about without going through the committee.
No, it isn't.
Okay.
All it is this is what happened. This is why we're doing the therefore. It could be, it could be anything. It could be, whereas we think people should be 6 foot tall before they ride a roller coaster. It doesn't affect the therefore. It's just kind of making a record as to why we decided that this resolution made sense.
This goes back to people on this board calling this an emergency, and this is not an emergency. This board said no to an RFP months and months and months and months ago, and we've been asking that committee, Sheriff, why don't you go out and do a new RFP, and let's get this project moving. And you know what? He doesn't care what all this nonsense costs the public out here. Doesn't care what the taxpayers have to pay. He's not going to do it. We hurt his feelings, and he doesn't understand the role between the executive powers and the legislative powers. We control the money, not him. We don't control the money. Right here, we're going to pass this, and we're going to let him just go do whatever he's doing.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, go ahead, Mr. Helm.
If I might add, if this resolution is passed, finance director and the administrator would no longer be turning invoices into U.S. Bank to be paid out of the lease. They would have to go through committee for claims approval. That's what the resolution is doing, and there have been no invoices turned in so far. So if this passes tonight and tomorrow invoices show up, they will be rejected.
They will.
That's what the resolution is doing. That's what the therefore says.
I hope you're right. Okay? And
Well, I guess I can't guarantee it, but that's the rule.
I understand that. I hope you're right. And if it is, thank you. Okay?
So, you did put a motion on the floor to change them, did you?
There was no second.
Yeah, no, okay. Well, we'll continue on. Ms. Anthony, go ahead.
So just to clarify, whoever best could answer the couple questions I have. Thank you, Mr. Larson, you had said 4 air conditioners.
Well,
items.
2 air conditioners and boy, I'm really not it was like parts for 2 more at the jail or something like that.
Were those all items that were in the initial project, the HVAC project?
That was about the jail, I believe.
No, there was,
I thought it was courthouse.
there was items for all buildings, and including the jail and rooftop units.
Okay, so then these items could have been, this process could have gone through its initial intention if another RFP was sent out in, correct? That's what we've requested the sheriff to do, was to put out another RFP? And
yes.
How long ago was this?
Shortly a couple months ago.
Do we have an explanation from the sheriff as to why he's refusing to do so?
He's not gonna put one out, bottom line, okay? He said no, he will not do that as long as he's sheriff.
Okay, I just wanted that stated.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Jarvis, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I asked a few questions about this. seems kind of odd that we had all these units kind of fail at once or whatever. And it also seems very strange that they were declared an emergency and needed to be purchased right away without submitting something to the committee. Yeah, that's all I'm going to say. Thank you.
Okay. Go ahead, Mr. Miller, go ahead.
Thank you.
See if the mic's working.
Is that working? All right. My concern is past this, if we do, and I think we should, the work that's already been ordered and signed for, who's going to be on the hook for that?
The county.
So we're not going back in time. We're saying going forward, we can't spend money. Is that my
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, go ahead, Mr. Helms.
Any invoices that are submitted for the lease, if this passes, should be rejected. The county ordered these units. You can say it's the sheriff, you can say it's the treasurer, you can say it's the county clerk. It's the county. So I don't know all of the protocol if this passes, but I would assume that someone would reach out to the vendor and say, this has to go through a claims process. Nothing's been installed yet, to my knowledge.
That was my concern.
If it has, then I would say.
Repairers are going to be a different story, perhaps.
The long and the short of it is, somebody wants to get paid, they'll come after the county, not the sheriff.
Well, yes, let's say, has your unit been installed upstairs? Yeah.
No, it hasn't, but,
so we know one unit hasn't been installed.
well, guys, I'm not the expert here, but I thought the claims for this had gone through. Do you have any information about that?
Oh,
okay, well, maybe not.
Go ahead.
All right.
Unless Adrian corrects me, we double checked and there have been no draws on the escrow account for those.
She just sent me a message saying there has been none.
I was gonna say, unless it happened since the last time she and I checked.
So, I mean, that's gonna be an issue when those claims come in, but we're gonna have to deal with it.
But again, I would say that, and I guess I'm looking at you, George, as the administrator. If this resolution passes, we would want to reach out to the vendor directly and let them know that this is the process when you do have invoices, that they will need to be provided to the, it's getting into the nuts and bolts that they probably don't care about who they give it to, but I don't know what they were told and how they would get paid, but it has to go through, if this passes the normal payment process.
Okay, thank you. Madam Clerk, Mr. Clay, go ahead.
Just one more time, I just want to say thank you for somebody thinking outside the box. Appreciate that.
Okay. Madam Clerk, call roll, please.
Scott Helms.
Aye.
Sally Brashaw.
Aye.
Brian Grant.
Aye.
Daniel Rohr.
Aye.
Garrett Miller.
Aye.
Jerry Clay.
Aye.
Ronnie Bush.
Aye.
Rebecca Quiggle.
Aye.
Charles Hilton.
Aye.
Casey Anthony.
Aye.
Dale Diddens.
Aye.
Kurt Copeland.
Aye.
Kevin Toomson.
Aye.
Erica Monroe.
Aye.
Ron Flegel.
Aye.
Elvin Wire.
Yes.
Larry Jogers.
Aye.
Nicole Baker.
Aye.
William Hadley.
Yes.
Unanimous. Thank you.
Okay, the next item is approval of the 2023 County Board Committee meeting calendar. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
By Mr. Dale Diddens, a second. By Ms. Monroe. Discussion, Mr. Clay, go ahead.
Is there a requirement that we pass this? Yes.
There's no requirements. This will be passed by the new board, but we were just putting a generic one together for generally department heads and elected officials like to know when the committees are going to be meeting so they can schedule vacations and stuff like that. Just a courtesy,
Okay, thank you.
But it's a generic one, meaning that it can be changed when the new board gets seated. It's just a template.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion? I see none. Madam Clerk, call roll.
Dale Diddens.
Aye.
Kurt Copeland.
Aye.
Kevin Toomson.
Aye.
Erica Monroe. Ron Flegel. Elvin Wire.
Yes.
Larry Jokers.
Aye.
Nicole Baker. Scott Helms.
Aye.
Sally Brashaw. Brian Brandt.
Aye.
Daniel Rohr.
Aye.
Garrett Miller.
Aye.
Jerry Clay. Jerry Clay. Thank you. Ronnie Bush.
Aye.
Rebecca Quiggle. Charles Hilton. Casey Anthony. William Hadley.
Yes.
19-0.
13-0, any other new business for any of the board members? I see none, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Oh, by Mr. Miller and second by Dale Diddens.